Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, traders, wherever you are. I hope you had a happy weekend and you're ready for your new trading week. So today I just want to give you an overview of what we are looking at for this trading week. And I'd like to start from a fundamental perspective just to see what we have coming up. So here we're looking at Forex Factory. What we have, first of all, you can see the Chinese yuan. For those of you that are trading it, you need to look out for the GDP, which is coming up on Monday. After that, another pair that we have with news being released is the yen. Here we are waiting for the outlook report from the Bank of Japan. When you're looking at this type of news, as opposed to maybe a GDP, a CPI, that is something that is very well, it's data, it's figures that you're looking at. For this, you really need to pay attention to whatever the news or the report is and to gauge the sentiment that is coming out of the banks. How is the bank looking at the economic status of the country? What's their outlook on inflation, on interest rates? So you need to actually follow up on that and be able to gauge where the yen stands in comparison to other pairs that you'll be trading them against. After that, we do have the pound. The pound, we have the CPI coming out, and also for the pound, we also do have the Bank of England. For the news from the Bank of England, again, just like from the Bank of Japan, you need to pay attention to what is actually said and be able to gauge the sentiments from that. Again, lastly, we do have employment news from Audi. So people trading the Audi pairs, you need to look out for these numbers. And maybe just in case there's someone who's not aware or doesn't know how to read this, technically, here you'll see this is the previous report that was done. These are the figures that they came out. These are the tentative figures that are expected to be released on Thursday in regards to employment changes. And when you click on this, you're able to see actually the details. You're able to see the history of what was actually released in the past, what the previous was, what the forecast was, what came out, and you can also click on it to actually get the details of it. And if you don't understand what this is, you can just come in here and you can read what this is. For instance, this measures the change in the number of employed people during the previous month. So this is released month over month. Okay, so there isn't much going on from a fundamental perspective, so let's get to the technicals. And to start us off, I'd like to start with the DXY, especially given the week that the dollar has had in the last week. For this, I'd like first of all to start with what we were looking at last week before I can tell you what we are looking at moving on to this trading week. So last week we were looking at this index at this point. This is where we were looking at it. And what we were anticipating for this pair to come down here for us to get a bounce off of this support to trade upwards, and clearly that did not happen, especially after the release from Powell that came out on the head, that is the head of the Fed right here, and that is when we saw the index really just break this support and with a lot of momentum to the downside, which you can see it had held for a couple of times. And then now, so what we were looking at, I did post analysis on this, that is a follow-up on this, and this is the level that we were looking at, based off of right here and right here. So you can see it's a support, it was a resistance that did hold for a while, and we can now see it hold as a support of this pair. So moving on to the new trading week, we are looking to see whether we are going to have a retest to this point before we can continue higher. And moving higher, we are targeting for the pair to actually come back to this resistance up here before we can gauge the next move. So our outlook for the dollar is pretty much bullish heading on to the new week. Another pair that we did look at last week was the pound. And maybe something I'd just like to mention to you guys before we get out of the DXY. When you look at the DXY, basically what this is showing you, it's showing you the strength or the status of the dollar in regards to other pairs. And just because I've said looking at this, our outlook, at least for this week, is bullish on the dollar, it does not mean that all dollar pairs you need to be buying. You also need to analyze how the other currencies for which that make the pair, of course there's the base, there's a quote currency, is doing before you can actually get a final reading on what you're looking at. GBP USD is another pair I really like to trade. All right, so actually I'm bringing this chart to you just as it was last week because I want to show you what we looked at and what we are looking at. So when we were analyzing this pair last week, these are the zones that we were looking at. This is where we were, and as you can see, as indicated by these arrows, we were looking for the price to either, sorry, let me just remove that for you, for the price to break this zone right here, heading upward for a retest down here before we can get even higher. If you have been following our analysis, especially on our website, which is thetradingheart.net, for those of you that are not aware, we have been observing the pound dollar move through this channel for quite a while, all the way from here when it came down here, all the way through these levels, through minor resistances, minor supports, until we are here. My sentiment on the pound, the pound dollar, has been pretty much bullish. Again, going to what I'm telling you, I'm just from saying my sentiment on the dollar is bullish, but the pound is much stronger than the dollar, and that's why I will be buying the GBP USD should this setup right here hold. Now let's go back to the 4 hours so that we can actually see the details. This area is no longer significant, so we can just remove it from our chart. So what we're looking at is a retest of these levels before we can proceed even higher. I do have a lot of confidence in the pound bullishness, especially because it has broken out of a channel that has held for quite a long time, and we also see the bears did try to really break this level down here, which is at the bottom of the channel, and also a major significant support, and it was not possible for them. So now moving on with the week, the next significant level for the pair is around this area here, right there. So on a retest here, I'll be looking to take long positions here, target these zones before we could have a retest and move even higher. The next pair that we'll be looking at is the GBP Yen. Again, we're going to start from our analysis from last week, what we were looking at, what happened, and what we are looking at now. So last week, our bias on the pound yen was bearish, and what we were looking at is this resistance over here. And if I could just go to the daily chart for you quite briefly, you can see that the pair has actually been on an uptrend, and you will notice that this is the highest level. At the time of analysis, the pair was at this level, and what we were looking at, we were looking for the pair to actually come test this resistance over here before we could get in on short positions. And as you can see, the price didn't actually get there, so we were not able to catch positions right there. But you could look at this minor level right here, which has been tested 3 times. So continuing the bias is still short, but for us to be able to get in on the trend moving down is we need to be able to see a retest of this zone here, and then we can get in on a sell position with a pending order right here. And the importance of the pending order is so that you don't get caught in fake outs. So when you have a pending order is if the resistance is actually tested and it holds, so when price is coming down, that's when you get activated. The target for this would be down here on these levels. So this is a move that you'll be looking to catch, and if should price failed to come back to test this resistance zone, another entry level that we can look at is this right here. So what we'll be looking at here is for price to break and get a retest before we can continue moving in lower. EURUSD is the pair that has the highest negative correlation to the DXY, and if you look at the range in which we have been looking at for a while, it's the same range that has been on the DXY, only inverted, aka negative correlation. For this pair, what we were looking at, we were looking for price to break out of these levels for us to be able to pick some long positions, and that actually did happen. Now we are seeing a retest of this trend line, which actually this position is ripe for picking. So I'll be looking to take on a position right here. The price is pretty much gone, so actually I'll be a bit more wary of getting into this position, and the target for this would be right there. So we'd get a risk to reward ratio of 1:5, as you can see, and if we were wrong, we'd get stopped out right there. The bias right now on the EURUSD is pretty much bullish. All you need to get now is proper entry levels, and what proper entry levels are, it's good to get your entry triggers and also to get a confirmation so that you get higher probability trades. Waiting for confirmation, sometimes it doesn't come and you do miss the train, but it's better to miss out on positions that will actually get in on fake outs and lose money. Gold. Gold honestly is one of my favorite pairs to trade, but it has not been a favorite of mine for the last few weeks, dare say even a month and more, because looking at the pair, really we haven't had any one direction. The pair has been ranging for quite a while, and while you might look at this pair from the daily, we see ever since these levels down here, which is pretty significant, since this point we see that the pair has honestly been making higher lows, but at the same time we do see lower highs being formed, which technically means the pair has been consolidating for the recent past. And I do not like to trade gold when it's not trending in any one direction, because it's very easy to get caught in fake outs and spikes in gold, and I'm more of a swing trader, so when I get into position, I'm looking to hold it a bit longer for a couple of days. Ideally, gold is not a pair that I'm looking at right now. My overall bias on gold is long, but I'll only be looking to pick long positions if we are able to break out of this zone right here. This level is no longer significant. This level is what we were looking at last week, and how we were looking at it, we were looking at price having broken this, but this level being held at least twice in the past. So we were looking for price to actually come in down here before we could get a position, before we could get an entry trigger to go higher, but that did not happen, which also makes this level insignificant. And how you can look at this now is looking at this as the range zone within which the pair is trading. Again, as I've said, I would not like to be trading this pair. And oh guys, before I forget, I'd just like to point something about Gbp Yen. It's something that I forgot to mention, but I think it's something that is important. You might be wondering, why are we trading against the trend? Reason being, if you look at the pair, you'll notice that the pair has actually been pretty bullish for a while. And why our bias is pretty much bearish on this is because if you look at the RSI, again I have mentioned this is the highest levels that the pair has been in quite a long time. But if you were to add the RSI, this being the first time, this is the highest that the pair has been yet. You'll notice at the point at which this pair got up here, we had overbought conditions right here, and at the time that the pair approached those levels again we have an overbought condition, which makes for the perfect double top. That confirms that the bears are more likely to be in control moving forward, and that is why we have a strong bias to be selling this pair, because clearly we do have a double top situation, and in both instances we do have overbought conditions. That's just something that I thought it would be nice to highlight. If you're looking for a reversal to enter in a position when a pair is reversing, it's important to look for other factors that would be supporting your move. Otherwise, you just be trading against the trend, and you're more likely to lose than to win such a position. The last pair that we are looking at for this week is USD Jpy. This is one of the pairs that our analysis did fail miserably last week. I don't want to show you what we were looking at. I don't think we need the RSI now. Honestly, I only use the RSI when I'm watching out for overbought, oversold conditions. There are other times that you can use the RSI, but I don't necessarily do that. So the USD Yen, what we were looking at last week, at the time of analysis, this pair was trading here, and our bias then was long. We were looking to get long positions on the pair. Reason being, we were looking at this downward channel right here. We were looking at this support level right here. So we were looking for a retest of this support level and a break out of this channel for us to enter into a long position. Well, this is when we see the test of the top of the channel, but clearly price did not break out of this channel, so we did not get in that position, which is great, because if we did, then we would have lost money. Again, this was very much catalyzed by the fundamentals from the dollar. So moving on to the new week, this now is irrelevant. You don't need to be looking at this channel anymore. However, just before I delete that, there is something that might be of importance to highlight. There, looking at that channel from that perspective, well, while the channel is now invalid, we see price actually coming back up. And while we'd like ideally to see price come all the way up here to test this support turned resistance, if the price fails to come up all the way up here to test these levels, we could also consider the test of the bottom of this channel as another entry point for us to go short on this pair. For the short positions, the targets would be here. Be looking at this as the next support. But it's also important to highlight this level right here. So these are the levels that we'd be looking to trade should we be getting into short positions. However, this would be a trade to get into very cautiously, because price has been trending upwards. And like I've said, when you're getting into a position against the general trend, it's important to have more confirmation than just seeing a reversal, than just seeing a break of support, so that you're not caught in fake outs. Guys, that's what we are looking at for the week. I'd very much be interested in knowing what you are looking at, and also you can head on to our website so that we can continue our discussion there, or you can just leave a comment down here, tell us what you're looking at, give us another perspective of what we are seeing and what you might be seeing. Let us know what other pairs you'd like us to break down for you. Just leave a comment down in the comment section, and until next time, have a happy trading week.